So tell us about the role of investment banking and how can entrepreneurs work with someone like you?
Let me tailor my advice to our ecosystem, right? Where founders are a lot more, so to say, game aware, right? I mean, they kind of know what they're getting into. I'm not talking about, so to say, a manufacturing company or a consumer company that's been in existence for the last 30, 40 years. Generations have built it, right? I am taking the case study of a first generation founder, right? Who typically is raising their second, third, or fourth round, right? And then we'll come to early stage founders, right? I mean, where you really need a lot of advice, and you need it more on an informal basis, right, rather than a formal basis, right? So what our digital ecosystem founders need, right? I mean, it's very, very difficult to they need help, okay, which a banker cannot provide, right? I mean, there is no sort of say there's no English word for what they really need, okay? There is a Hindi word and there is an Italian word, okay? What they need is a mix of a munim and a consigliere, okay? People who can really go out there and execute, okay? Who can translate their plans, their visions, the nitty-gritties of their business, okay, into spreadsheets. People who are great at process orientation and run the entire process like a machine, okay? It obviously doesn't sound very cool or glamorous, but that's what most of the heavy lifting is. Yeah. And B, the role of a consigliere, right? I mean, see, most of the founders anyways, they are phenomenally bright, they've got access to a lot of advice, right? Especially from their boards, right? But sometimes what they need is an independent sounding board, especially when they're making decisions which will have ramifications on them as well as their teams over years to come, right? So if you believe that an advisor can be a mix of the two, then go ahead and hire them. They don't need to be external advisors. They can be your own corp dev team. They can be your own CFO, right? They can be your own board members, right? Or it can be the founder themselves, right? Because most of the, I mean, if you see, the reality of the business in our ecosystem is that most founders, may or may not need bankers, right? I mean, they are very, very hands-on, and if they have the time and mind space, they like running the process on their own, right? But I think these are the two hats that a good advisor needs to wear for you. And if you believe that they can wear these hats well enough, if they can add an element of certainty to your process, right? If you believe that it frees up mind space for you to run your business, whereas somebody else is thinking about your fundraise day in and day out, right? Then it's worth it to spend that good money.